The Boys series finale finally aired, and it was... let's talk about it. So, the episode starts off with the boys all at this house. I think it was Butcher's house. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it was. And they have a funeral for Frenchie, who died in the last episode to Homelander literally just fucking slicing his stomach. Off the bat, I wanted that scene to end. I was not emotionally moved by Frenchie's funeral. Reason being, it was rushed, and it was turned into a massive joke by Frenchie himself, and I don't know what they thought was going to go on and how they thought it was going to work, but whatever they tried going for, it did not work. He literally makes a joke in his written fucking suicide note or whatever that he's seen everyone's asshole. I don't care. I don't care for any of that at all. His funeral is ultimately ruined by them trying to make it funny in the first like 30 seconds, and I just don't think it worked. We don't see any remorse in the rest of the episode regarding Frenchie's death. The most that we see is that one scene during the fight, but I'll get into that in a second. Next, we see Starlight and Marie having a talk about meeting their heroes, the disappointment that Starlight felt when she met Maeve for the first time, and I could be wrong, it's been a day since I've seen the episode, but ultimately she tells Marie to fuck off, meaning that Gen V Season 1 and 2 are completely useless and mean literally nothing. She doesn't tell her to fuck off in a bad way. She just says, hey, take your team, this, that, and the third, go to Canada, peace. I am so upset about the fact that Gen V was completely unnecessary. There was this massive buildup from the Odessa Project to make Marie the one to potentially stop Homelander. And she is just disregarded and tossed to the side in the rushed season 5 of The Boys. She was a good character. I liked Marie. The actor did a great job. Her story and her ability are OP. She can bloodbend. And she was literally one of the only soups that had the potential to stop Homelander. And the showrunners decided, nah, we don't need that. So, boom, she's out of the picture. Last scene in The Boys. Butcher decides one more run at Homelander, and the boys ultimately follow along again, and they go off to storm the White House. Then, inside the White House, we see Ashley and O-Father. And, God, I know Ashley was a freak, and so the presentation of her gifting a ball gag to O-Father scared me so much in that finale, because as much as I'm okay with the freaky shit in The Boys, in the series finale, after just watching Catwoman and Dog Boy sniff each other's ass trying to figure out what they ate for lunch, I did not want a sex freaky scene of Ashley and O-Father. If that happened in that finale, I would have actually killed myself in GTA. Because we don't need that. Your series was already rushed. Your finale is already rushed. We don't need anything else wasting time. Inside the White House, we see the Deep show up. Homelander tells him to fuck off. Now, what I love about this scene is that ultimately, as much as we didn't get to see it, at the same time, we did see that Homelander despises the Deep because the Deep and Homelander are one and the same. As Homelander, throughout the series, wanted to be loved, praised, wanted to be glorified, and just wanted to feel everyone's love, whether it was forced or not. The Deep is the same way. The Deep could not be the strongest on the Seven. The next best thing for the Deep was to be the strongest on the Seven's right-hand man. But Homelander ultimately took that away from him, leaving him depressed, crushed, and not knowing what to do himself. His entire identity that he gave himself was to be Homelander's right-hand man, and when he was on his knees like a dog, trying to be by Homelander's side, he was tossed away. I know Homelander despised the Deep because the Deep is a reflection of Homelander. Two people, similar feelings, different scenario. Next, we see the boys storm the White House. God, the promotion for this season was absolutely abysmal. We see Homelander in space, which, mind you, one of the scenes that I just remembered was that Homelander is speaking with O-Father to a billionaire about getting funding for the Church of America. He takes the billionaire, drops him into space, and comes back in less than 2 seconds. We don't get to see him in space. He went, but we do not get to see him in space, which leaves another poster as false advertising. Then we see the boys enter the White House. They get into a trap set by Homelander and stuff like that, and they get shot at. Sirens are buzzing for the soups. Ashley ultimately storms the hallway, freeing them because We already knew it. Ashley was going to heel turn against Homelander. We saw the build-up. It happened. This results in the boys showing up to a room with Ofather in the Deep. Starlight takes the Deep, flies off, and we see what that scene was in the trailer where they crashed into the sand. It was Starlight in the Deep. They ultimately fight. I'm sorry, I love Starlight, but Annie cannot fight. She cannot throw hands. She ultimately locked in at the end, though, and she used her little blinky flashlights to throw the Deep into the water, which causes another character death. I love the Deep. I loved his character. He was an asshole. He did what he was supposed to do. Funny guy, Chance Crawford. Great. He gets into the water where he's prohibited from being in, and he gets a tentacle in the asshole and dies. One of the many deaths in this series finale. We cut to Ofather fighting the rest of the boys, and Huey puts a gag over Ofather, and he dies by self-implosion. Very similar to that one scene in Multiverse of Madness. I will say, I'm glad we didn't get any freaky stuff with the ball gag. However, to see Daveed Diggs in a ball gag was somewhat satisfying. I never thought I'd see that in my life, but I did, so fuck it. Then, Homelander is doing his speech to address the nation. He's talking from a teleprompter, talking about how he's God, the second coming, yada, 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 yada. And he gets to this one line. And mind you, he visited Ryan earlier in the episode. And Ryan's basically like, hey, you're a bitch. Fuck off. And Homelander is like, okay, well, you're the son of God. My offer still stands. Come be with me. You shouldn't be living like this. Because he's living in the shed. But yeah, he tells Homelander to fuck off. And Homelander leaves. And so there's this one line in his speech that talks about how I am the father. I am all of your father and you are all my children. And it causes Homelander to ultimately freeze up. And he goes on this unintelligible rant about how, he's going to do whatever he does to non-believers and stuff like that. Which I thought would be a segue into him finally snapping, because one of the things I desperately wanted to see in this series finale was Homelander snapping and going on an absolute rampage of murder. We don't get to see that. There was a lot of stuff that I had envisioned for this series finale that I did not get to see, and it could just be me being picky, but there's things that a lot of us wanted to see that we didn't get, and so that eliminates another one of them. Ultimately, while he's going on his little rant, Butcher shows up and smashes a door in the White House. The ultimate face-off. Scorched earth and blood and bones. They have a little exchange and they start fighting, and Homelander's like, sorry about the French one. How did that little experiment go? And so the look on this man's face when Butcher says, oi, let's find out. And Kimiko comes out of nowhere, and his face is absolutely terrified. You can tell that he did not expect the experiment to work, and now he's faced with Butcher, a man who desperately wants to kill him. Kimiko, who has the power of Soldier Boy, which may I add, Soldier Boy's final scene in The Boys being choked out by Homelander, fucking dog shit. That's not how Soldier Boy should have went out. But regardless, Vought Rising, fuck it. So we see them throwing hands and stuff like that. Homelander's fighting for his life. It may not feel like it. He might not be showing it, but he's fighting for his life. There's somebody in here that desperately wants to kill him, and someone who can take away all of his powers. Now, mind you, at this point, Homelander has V1. V1 is embedded into his DNA, and he has it. Part of why I wanted to see a rampage, so did many others. He lasers Kimiko. He lasers Butcher's tentacles and Butcher, and they're perfectly fine. Mind you, he lasered Kimiko earlier in the season, and she got fucking cut in half. Now, you could argue that the nuclear explosion and stuff buffed Kimiko, but regardless, I say inconsistent bad writing, say what you want. So then, they start fighting. It's a short fight. Homelander tries multiple times to get away. He flies away. Butcher uses his tentacles to wrap it around him and slam him down. He tries to fly away again, where ultimately Ryan flies through the White House window and grabs Homelander and pushes him onto the ground. They all start throwing hands and stuff like that, and Butcher's like, yo, Kimiko, lock in, blast the bloody cunt. And she can't do it. She has fucking erectile dysfunction, and she can't do the blast. But understandably so, she thought that the only way she could do it was by being angry, and so she was having a hard time because she wasn't an angry person at this point in the series. She overcame all of that. And so for her to tap into that rage, even for Frenchie, was difficult. And so we get a scene, and I can't say I like that scene with Frenchie. I can't say I did. And the reason why I can't say I did is because there's another series that I hold dear to my heart that did a scene just like that, and it was fucking garbage. The Rise of Skywalker, that scene where they're on that one planet, the remains of the Death Star, and Harrison Ford's Han Solo shows up to Adam Driver's Ben Solo, and they have a little exchange. It was a bad scene. I'll get into that in another video, but it was a bad scene. It was a sweet scene, but it was just, it was meh. It was okay. Ultimately, she unlocks the ability to use her power, and so she loads up the blast while Butcher and Ryan hold Homelander. Kimiko unleashes the blast, and boom, Homelander is zapped. It cuts to a scene of all four of them on the ground. Butcher wakes up, Homelander wakes up, Ryan wakes up, and mind you, this is all being teleprompted on live television to the entire nation because somehow that fucking camera did not get destroyed. Fuck it. Who cares? So the entire fight was broadcasted nationwide. People in the churches were seeing it, yada, yada, yada. So then we get an absolutely banger of a scene from Anthony Starr, which, mind you, I think Anthony Starr was the best part of this series finale and the season itself. His ability to play all versions of Homelander in one episode, amazing. Cinema. He played villain Homelander. He played psychotic Homelander. He played little bitch, no power Homelander. You can tell the different character shifts in Homelander. One of the best villains we've gotten in a very long time, and one of the best performances we've seen in a very long time. Anthony Starr, you are a blessing. But we see Homelander trying to use his laser vision. It fails. We see him trying to fly. It fails. The face of realization sits in. Butcher is like, oh fuck yeah, he's got his crowbar and he's ready to go. We see Homelander become what A-Train predicted. A pathetic bitch with no powers. A shell of a man. Mind you, Homelander's never been a man a day in his life. What is he without powers? Nothing. And we see that. He tries running towards Butcher, and the way that Anthony Starr ran towards Butcher with trying to throw that fist, it just shows how powerless Homelander is without the V1 and the V. He couldn't fight. He didn't know how to fight. This is the first time he's never been able to use his powers in his entire life, and we see that. He looks powerless. He looks weak, which results in Butcher ultimately catching the punch with his hand and just punching him and punching him and punching him. He punches a bunch of times for Frenchie, and we get that amazing scene of Homelander being like, I'll suck your dick. I'll get a shapeshifter to be Becca, your wife. Please, I'll eat your shit. I'll do anything. He absolutely did that scene beautifully. It was a masterclass of acting. So yeah, he's punching Homelander. Ba, ba, ba. This was oi. This was for Frenchie. Bam, bam, bam. Oi. This was for Becca. He takes his crowbar. You see Anthony Starr's face. Boom. Punts the crowbar into Homelander's skull. He's still alive for a little bit, and then he he kind of bends it or whatever, and his brain is split open and his head is split open, and it's over. There's still 20 minutes of the episode, I believe, but it's over. Homelander is dead, and as obviously I kind of knew how it was going to play out, but I won't sit here and act like it didn't leave me wanting more. I don't think that making the fight so short was a good choice on Eric's end. It should have been a longer fight. We've been watching this show for years, and we've seen Homelander evolve for years, and we've seen his presence change and his power just be displayed for years as this unstoppable force. And the fight's over in 10 minutes? Maybe less? It's just all of that build-up for a short fight that should have been longer. It should have been episode 9 going into... episode 7 going into 8. 8 into 9. I'm not sure. But the episode before should have been the beginning of the fight, in my opinion. If they paced the season correctly. We should have seen the boys have time to mourn in that second to last episode, storming the White House, doing what they do, Homelander getting ready to cut loose, and let it carry on as a cliffhanger into the very next episode, which, mind you, people pay to see in theaters. So Homelander dies, it's over, the boys go back to the house, whatever, and Butcher tries to reconcile with Ryan, and ultimately Ryan is like, hey, listen, fuck you. And it's an understandable decision on Ryan's end. I would have been fine with both ways if he decided to live a new life with Butcher, or if he decided to just say, hey, fuck off, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm okay with both endings, but I do think that him telling Butcher to fuck off basically is the more appropriate ending for how the show went. We see Butcher go into his room where he greets Terror, and RIP to the GOAT Terror. RIP, IRL and in the show. I don't like how at the series finale premiere party thing they had another Terror. I get it, but it's just kind of like I don't think replacing the dog was a good idea. But ultimately, we see that Terror, his last connection to humanity for Butcher, is dead. And this prompts Butcher to do a heel turn that we expected, taking the virus that they originally made for Homelander, and him getting ready to take it, deploy it around the world. He goes to Vought Tower, and we see him standing in the 7th room where Huey is like, oh, fuck. Because Huey finds out. I don't know why Huey didn't tell anyone else about it, but I guess he wanted to handle it himself, and so he does. He takes a gun, which we find out later, and he has a standoff with Butcher. Butcher is getting ready to pull the trigger, and he gets flashbacks. He gets some sense knocked into him, and he's almost about to do it, and then bam, Huey shoots Butcher. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is the one scene that really made me feel a little bit, but it was a good scene. It made me feel something, but it didn't make me feel a lot. And I think the rest of the series and the episode itself failed to pull at me emotionally in any way besides that scene. And just the constant disappointment kind of just made feeling for that scene any easier to do. But yeah, ultimately, Butcher dies in Huey's arms, and I think he praises Huey for always being able to save himself and stuff like that. Huey's like, oh, I'm gonna call you an ambulance, yada, 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 but he's like, nah, it's over. And so Butcher dies and is buried next to Becca. The boys have another funeral for him. Huey kind of just talks about the contradiction that, yeah, he was an asshole, yeah, he was this, but he made the world a safer place by taking out Homelander, and so at the end of the day, he's a hero. So boom, all of that's kind of wrapped up. Then we see the aftermath. We see that people are painting over Homelander's posters. We see that Stan Edgar takes control over Vought again. MM is like, oh, fuck this guy, because we've seen that one scene earlier in the season. Ultimately, they're all living their lives. Ryan goes with MM. Good choice. Kimiko goes to what I believe is France to explore. She's obviously sad and mourning Frenchie. And we see that Starlight and Huey are still together. I love them as a couple, and they have their own company. We find this out after Huey gets a call from the president asking him to be the leader of like the soup under control organization, which he ultimately declines for his own starter project of him and Annie solving crime. We see that Starlight is preggers. She is having a baby. The gender of the baby is revealed at the end of the episode when they get a call and she goes off to fight crime, which, why do we have pregnant Starlight fighting crime? One punch to the stomach, because she can't fight. One punch to the stomach and that baby is toast. I hate to say it, but I just immediately, there's so many times I caught myself thinking to myself about certain things that's